Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The assault rifle category here in Warzone Season 3 is extremely competitive, probably the most competitive that it's been since launch. Obviously, for the past couple of seasons, if you weren't using the Ram 7, you were probably losing the gunfight, but that's not the case here in Season 3. And in fact, picking out the 5 best rifles from really any given list of the category is incredibly difficult, but we're going to try our best to do exactly that today. So we're starting here first on True Game Data. As always, huge shout out to Tony for helping everyone out, getting all this information so easily accessible and digestible. Link to the site will always be in the description below. But I picked out what I think are probably the clear 9 best. We can only have 9 weapons we compare with one another. We've got the BP50. We know this one's been a top choice for some time. The Geist has been good for a little bit. Even before Season 3, this was a top choice that we talked about. We were sort of ahead of the curve with that one. SVA has always been a constant. STB has been sort of slept on. I wanted to include the Ram 7 just for sake of conversation here. The MTZ's kind of been slept on. Lockman 556 just caught a buff. I've seen a lot of questions about that. The 545 is pretty good. The Holger 556 is as well. We've got 300 health, so full plates, full health there. Combination shot TTK for the most accurate depiction of this graph, and we get a seriously competitive meta, especially in the mid-range here. The close range is nuts. It definitely separates itself out some over the long range, which is going to help when figuring out our true top 5. But as we go through here now, what are some standouts? Right away, the buffed Lockman 556. The buff primarily affected its close to mid-range. You can see our bright pink line here is still not that crazy. It's not like substantially better than anything in the close range. And then it drops off very harshly. So I think it's safe to say we can knock the Lockman 556 out for now. Now, our Ram 7, while it is really good in those first 24 meters or so, and it's right in the mix of things in the close range, it does start to fall off a little bit more. Then especially over range, its TTK is not going to be anything all that crazy. Yes, I would say as of right now, the Ram 7's probably knocked out of the top 5. Now, the STB is like right there in the close range. In the mid range, it's pretty good. And over the long range, it's especially good. But its ammo is just so limited. And that to me, I think probably knocks out of the top 5. This is probably my number 6 if I'm being honest. It's so close, but that damage per mag to me is a pretty huge deal, and especially with accuracy involved there, that limited ammo is very noticeable. And then the 545, while it is so good in the mid-range, it also drops off very harshly, especially over longer ranges, so that to me is a bit of a drawback as well. And then we're left with 5. The BP50, an obvious one. The Geist is just so good through the mid-range there, and it's also incredibly low recoil. Close range, mid-range, it's just dominant as can be. The SVA, super easy and reliable across the board. MTZ, very quick killing, especially over range. And then the Holger, which, I mean, that and the STB are so similar to one another, of course, with their DPM and whatnot. The Holger, just a tad bit easier to use in my opinion, so I gotta go with that there. But that is a really competitive top 5, and even beyond that, top 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so on and so forth. But now that we've sort of got this deciphered some, let's go through and break down the loadouts. So as we get into the setups here, quick reminder, if you are new to the channel, or maybe you have not subscribed yet, let's change that, because every single day I got you covered with news, updates, patch notes, meta breakdowns. Everything going on in COD is right here. And if you enjoy this video, or if you find it helpful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. It's always really appreciated. So for the Holger 556, like I said, its real only drawback here is going to be this 40 round mag, a little bit less than the STB, but the accuracy here I find to be a little bit more favorable. This thing is really easy to use, and you know, for resurgence or big map gameplay, this thing's going to be able to hold its own just fine. But we got that 40 round mag on there. I like the glassless optic. If you want to go more long range based with the 2.5 times, that's viable. More mid range based with an ELO sight, that's viable as well. All preference based there. The angled underbarrel here I think is solid, just because this gun is so easy to use. You don't really have to slow it down by using something like a Bruin Heavy. This is still going to attack horizontal control really well. Krau's 6 match barrel is better range, velocity, and control, obviously just making it even more lethal where it's used the most. Then I go for the Spirit Fire Suppressor, nice on there with that added velocity, especially getting us up into the 800s. That's not crazy, but it's definitely better than if we didn't have that on there for sure. So this thing is very reliable, very straightforward, and definitely can hold its own across the board. Now the SVA has been a constant option throughout throughout all the seasons so far. It's incredibly easy to use if you want to use it in semi-auto hyper burst mode or in full auto. Conveniently enough, you'd be using the same ideal setup for both of those modes. You can kind of flip back and forth if you want to. 2.5 times eagle eye optic on here, the 60 round extended mag, of course. Ruin heavy support is good for the full auto mode because it's going to attack the horizontal control, the gun kick, and give you idle sway and firing aim stability. And then in hyper burst or semi-auto mode, it's great because it's going to help out with the recentering and is keeping you accurate as you're spamming. So kind of the best of both worlds there. Precision heavy barrel on here, better range, velocity, control, also a little bit of aiming, idle sway in there too, so that's a nice added benefit. And then again, we got the spirit fire suppressor here, pretty self-explanatory per usual, but this thing really is the definition of old reliable. If the M4 of MW2 and like MW 2019 were to have a comp, this would be it. It's always going to be constantly good and a good fallback if you're ever looking for something there. Now, the Geist, as we've talked about before, is crazy good, especially in its first damage range and its second damage range. That's where it's going to thrive the most, and it's got a really good TTK there, as we saw. Initially, for, you know, standard gameplay, 2.5 times eagle eye would work. A glassless would work here as well. Just all preference there. 45 round extended mags, the max here. Luckily, this fire rate is not like crazy fast or anything. You're not going to burn through ammo, so while this is not a 50 or a 60, it's still going to be sufficient for the vast majority of fights you're getting into. Ruin heavy support here per usual. I go for the bridle heavy barrel, recoil control, better velocity, better range, and for whatever reason, slightly better hip fire minimum spread. I'm not sure why that's a benefit, but hey, it is. It's also funny because it says it hurts the hip fire spread there. Then we also have the Cassis break on here. If you wanted to use spirit fire, that'd be viable as well, but I just found myself to be way more accurate with this. Plus 900 velo is pretty solid as is, but you can definitely pick your poison there. There's no wrong answer. It's just a matter of, do you want this to be a little bit more effective at range, or do you want to be more accurate? Either way you're doing it, it's going to be a really solid rifle here, and it's nice to see an MW2 gun that's this high up on the meta ranking, I guess you could say. Hey everyone, briefly wanted to shout out my friends over at Gamer Advantage. Of course, Gamer Advantage is no stranger here on the channel. I'm rocking my Horizon frames in every single face cam video here on the channel because truly they are game changers. I sleep better because of them. My eye strain's not as bad when I'm wearing them, and honestly, even on days where I'm not just gaming, I'm editing, I'm doing other side work, when I'm looking at screens for long periods of time, these are by far the most important part of my day-to-day setup. So if you are looking at screens all day long, you're doing work, you're doing school, you're gaming, do yourself a favor, pick up a pair of Gamer Advantage glasses. They got a little bit of something for everyone. Plenty of different frame options in different colorways. They also offer support for any type of prescription lenses you may need, and if you throw in code WhosImmortal at checkout, you'll get a pretty nice discount. Link for that will be down in the description below. MTZ556 is extremely versatile. If you wanted to build this more for sniper support, it'd be pretty good there, but then also over range, it really starts to thrive as well with one of the better TTKs in the class in general, right? Very basic setup here. We got the 2.5 times eagle eye optic, the 50 round drum. I like brewing heavy here. I just found myself to be a little bit more accurate with this in this case and with how the MTZ's recoil works as opposed to something like the FTAC angled. If you're really confident with the gun though, you could try and switch over to that and just see how it feels. Spirit fire suppressor here yet again, just because I do want some added velocity there. 800 is again sufficient, not like what I'd want it to be, you know. Ideally 950, 1000 is the best way to have that for long range builds, but this will be sufficient for what we've got. I also go for the heavy long barrel on here, adds in some more velocity, some better range, some better control as well. A little bit of aiming idle sway in there too. So pretty standard setup, but it gets the job done quite nicely. And then lastly, by far my favorite rifle, and it has been for some time, the BP50, the do-it-all gun. If you want to use this in the close range, the mid range, run and gun with it, you can do so. If you want to use it for long range, you can do it there well, extremely efficiently as well. So initially I got the Moat 40 stock, protects your castle as always, that's of the utmost importance. Better control, better movement speed in there too. 45 round extended mag, the Lore 9 heavy barrel on here as well. Control, range, velocity, also some firing aim stability, and then the Cassis break. You could use spirit fire suppressor as well if you wanted to. It's a relatively easy to use weapon, so just a matter of again picking your poison. And then either if you like the iron sights, you could go for a DR6 hand stop, speed it up and make it really good in the mid range as well. Or if you do want an optic, drop the DR6 for a 2.5 times, a glassless, a slate, and an elo. Whatever optic you're the most comfortable with, all of them would work well in this case. This gun is so fun to use, aggressive, quick killing, checking all the right boxes, gets the job done the most efficiently in my opinion, hence why it's at that #1 spot. But that being said, those are the top 5 best rifle loadouts here in Warzone this season. That's going to wrap things up. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.